Hello, everyone. This is Kenny C here for Chilling with Jeff and Kenny C. My guest at this time is a bondage producer and model. She is joining me right now. Her name is Elizabeth Andrews. What made you decide to be a bondage model and producer? How did that came about?
I actually met my current husband when I was 18. He kind of introduced me to bondage first, and then I had a Yahoo Messenger because Yahoo Messenger was really big back in early 2000. And I'd put my profile picture up there. I was actually tied up, but we didn't really show my face at that time. And I got contacted by a producer in Virginia who was interested in doing some bondage modeling. And so I was really kind of like shocked that you could actually get paid for something that you like doing it. It was really, I was really young and it was my first experience, but it was something I was very open-minded to, and I decided to go ahead and give it a shot. So I went to Virginia and I worked with this guy. His name's Grit. We did an 8-hour shoot, basically. It was all video, and back then, in 2001, most people did all photos. So it was very hard, actually, but I loved it, and we did a lot of great stuff. And as soon as I got back to North Carolina, I basically just contacted a bunch of East Coast producers, and a lot of people wanted to work with me, so I pretty much have just stuck with it since then.
How long did it take for you to be comfortable in doing bondage?
Well, doing it in my personal life with David, it really didn't take very long because he's really easy to get along with. But doing it in a professional standing, it took me a couple of years before I was really comfortable doing it in front of other people, just because I was embarrassed that I wasn't doing it right, or, a whole lot of people were going to see the product, and it's all about visual and make sure you make the right faces and you make the right sounds. And it took a couple of years, but once my confidence grew with it, I just continued to do with it, and it was great. Like, you just have to get those things out of your mind and make sure that you're having a good time, because that's basically what it's about.
I checked out the videos on your Clip for Sale website. This is what I want to know. Have you ever done videos when you tied in certain positions and it could tend to hurt?
Recently, actually, we did a custom where I was in a double mummification, and that kind of hurt a little bit just because the first layer we did, I was in just pantyhose, like a pantyhose top and a pantyhose bottom, and then we did wide electrical tape. And the electrical tape was so tight around my ankles that was almost the only thing that I could think about. And once we did the full body, it was full body. The only thing that wasn't covered was really my nose. Once we got the full body, it was really difficult because I have a problem with not being able to, like, if my face is covered and my hands are tied, it's a mental thing with me, because I want to be able to touch my face and make sure that my nose is uncovered so I can breathe properly. And it was really mentally distressing, actually, because I was sitting there the whole time counting in my head, going, you're going to be fine, you're going to be fine. But I was hot because it was vet wrap and then electrical tape on top of that, and it was so tight, and I couldn't move, and it was just really distressing, actually. I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to finish the custom, but I was like, I'm fine, I have David here with me, and he's not going to let anything happen to me, so even if I have to be cut out of this, I'm going to be fine. So you just kind of have to sometimes push against those mental limitations because your body's fighting against you. And I don't think it would have been such a big problem if the ankles weren't so tight, but it was just like the bones in my ankle were just rubbing together, and it was just, oh my God, I cannot really explain the pain. And you wouldn't think that from just having your ankles taped together, but it's all about tension when you're wrapping the electrical tape, basically. If you can get some of that, it can get way too tight for you.
Do you think, as far as bondage is concerned, it's more physical or more mental?
I think both of them really play a part. With mine, it really depends on the situation. Because if we're doing a regular bondage clip where it's just like a ball gag or mouth stuffing or something like that, I'm fine mentally, because nothing there is really messing with my head. My biggest problem is circulation in my arms, because my right arm doesn't have as good circulation as my left arm. So sometimes I'll start feeling tinglings in my hands and things like that. And some days when we're shooting, it's worse than others, so I can't be tied up as long. I do take measures to kind of fight the circulation. Like I take B-complex, which is supposed to help with your circulation, and I take vitamin C, and I make sure to stretch and things like that. But if I have something over my face, like a stocking hood, or we do a full head wrap or something like that, then I'll start to freak out a little bit more, because I don't really like the fact that I can't breathe like I normally would be able to. That's like my major hang-up. I don't like breath play or anything like that kind of prohibits me from breathing normally. But I will push against my limits, just because, that's something that I need to work out mentally on myself. So I really think it depends on the position you're in and exactly what your hang-ups are, because everybody's going to be different. That's why I don't really do any underwater stuff at this point in time, because I just don't think I can handle it with the whole holding your breath and not being able to breathe. I think I could be under there for like maybe a second, and then I'd be like, I need air.
What do you like the most of producing these type of videos, like being behind the scenes, filming other models?
I really like coming up with the storylines, and I like dressing the models a lot. We do a lot of stuff with latex, and I like making the models feel good. Like I like putting them in clothing that makes them feel well. I love doing the filming, because I'm a very visual person, so I want to make sure that I get the right angles and the right shots, and I make sure that the model looks flattering, but it's also hard bondage. When it comes to Office Perils, I come up with a lot of the plot lines and a lot of the bondage, and one of our biggest things right now is doing the leather strap hog ties, which they may not look very difficult, but when you're in that position, it's really hard to breathe, because you have your head pulled back to your feet with just a leather strap. So it puts a lot of strain on your upper body, and the models can't really move in it, but I love the way that it looks. It has great lines, and it's just, I do it myself. It's one of my favorite ties, but I love the strain. Like, I don't love pain, but I love being in bondage and feeling my muscles strain and like not being able to get out and things like that. So I like to kind of do what I like to do with some of the other models and give them new experiences, because it's not a lot of things that other people do.
Do you have any upcoming shoots, projects, collaborating or coming up?
Well, at the end of this month, we've got Dominic Wolf and Whitney Morgan coming down to our studio. So that should be a lot of fun. I'm on spring break during that time. So I get to spend my entire spring break being tied up and tying up Whitney. So that should be a lot of fun. And then we have Annabelle Genovese coming down in April. We also have Dakota coming down in the end of March, actually. And then in May, I'll be heading to Rhode Island to work with StraightJacketed.com, who's one of my favorite producers. He does a lot of like his website says straight jackets, but he has some amazing latex, and that's one of my biggest fetishes is latex. And then there's some things that I'm hoping to get done this summer, but I can't really talk about them right now. Like, hopefully it comes through, but I really don't want to jinx myself by saying exactly what it is yet.
Understandable. And I am familiar with Whitney Morgan. She has her own radio show as well with Sydney Screams. I first heard of you because of Whitney, and you was interviewed on her show. I think it was back in January or something like that.
It was beginning of January.
Oh yeah, so
yeah, she's a pretty great person, and I can't wait to have her down. This will be the first time that I've actually got to work with her on my own for Office Perils, and I'll actually be working on hopefully getting some. I have a hosiery site that I want to open up soon. We'll see how that goes, because I have a big pantyhose fetish. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably see me posting a lot of pantyhose pictures, just candid shots from throughout the day. And I have another site called Tight and Shiny, which is more about wardrobe, that I just opened up last month. So hopefully I can get her in all three of those. But we'll just have to see what kind of time we have.
You mentioned customs earlier, and obviously that's been a huge part of the fetish industry. Email their request a script, and this is a question I usually ask, models of fetish. What's the weirdest custom request you've ever gotten from a fan?
Man, I get so many different requests. Lately, I would have to say I got a request from France. And there was a guy who wanted me to basically kill him on film. So I would strangle him in a point of view kind of way. And I don't know really how I feel about that. I can understand where he's coming from, wanting the custom and wanting to experience his fetishes, because that's really not something that he can probably get in real life. I mean, of course not, but I personally don't know how I feel about doing that on film, if that makes sense.
That is a very odd request, considering this person is from France. I thought France was to be about love and bonjour. I mean, wow.
I don't know. Yeah. He actually wanted me to speak French in the video, but I don't know French, so I can't really do that for him. But I get a lot of odd requests, and I try not to judge anybody on their requests. But if I can do it for them and I feel comfortable doing it for them, then I definitely will.
Why don't you go ahead, promote your links? How can people get in touch with you?
Well, my Clothes for Sale store is www.clotesforsale.com/38880. That's the Office Perils one. And if you actually go onto that one, it links to all the other stores that we have available at this time. If you want to email me, you can email me at officeperils@gmail.com. And then you can also follow me on Twitter under Liz Andrews, and that is Liz with 2 Z's. And then I also have a FetLife, so you can look me up on FetLife under Elizabeth Andrews as well.
Well, Elizabeth, it was great talking to you, and thank you for joining me for this interview. Try not to hurt yourself too much.
Oh, I definitely won't, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. This will conclude the interview.